Welcome in to Game Week edition. God, it's been a long time. Game Week edition of Kickin It. I'm Jeff Woody. I'm here with Grant Mahoney, Aiden Wyatt behind the board, who actually has a camera now. So if you're if you're looking on the YouTubes, if you're not, or if you're looking for clips later, you can actually see Aiden's ugly mug when we do ask him some random question that he's been just scrolling Twitter for the last 15 minutes and has to pretend that he's paying attention. As always, we're brought to you by Kelderman Manufacturing. Like I said, we're officially in game week, Grant. I know there's things to talk about other than the actual game itself, but I feel like we should just talk about there's actual football now.
Yeah, man. I mean, what a way to start the season too. And just like a kicker's dream on both sides, kicker's dreams.
So we had football. There was some football that already happened.
I'm not going to talk about Iowa State. I'm talking about what just happened.
So I was in South Carolina last week on a family trip. Lovely place. If you haven't been to,
you a Cox fan?
If gun to my head between Clemson and the Cox, take the Cox. Oh. But beautiful coastal South Carolina, beautiful. But we're on our way back in the Reagan Airport in DC, and we're just walking, pushing a stroller. She's asleep. She's not making a lot of noise. Look over, and I was like, "Oh shit, the Ireland game is on!" And it was just flipped. I mean, we had like an hour and a half layover. I was like, "Hey, Aaron, you can just walk around. I don't really care. I'm just gonna sit here." The environment was so exactly what I wanted it to be, which was like European football match meets college football, just all wrapped up into one. I am very excited for the opportunity. Potentially, I don't know if I haven't lined up to be able to actually go, but like the opportunity to go next year to that vibe, wild.
Yeah, and I have always kind of been on the I'm not gonna go. Like it'd be fun, but no, I'm not gonna watching that and just hear. I listened to the Pat McAfee show a little bit, and he did a live show at a bar in Ireland, and he said
it's called a pub.
A pub. Yep, you're right. It was a pub. And he kept saying hop, 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 hop. That must be a thing they do there. I don't know. And he said that he had heard that there were 30,000 Florida State fans going there, and he said that the pub was just packed full of college football fans. I was like, this looks great. But I guess to say that is, I looked at flights and they're pretty affordable. So I thought I may be making the trip. Still on the fence. Still got about 360 days to decide. But
yeah, roughly. I mean, it's somewhere between 350 and 365 days between actually being able to get there.
Great atmosphere though. Yeah.
Great vibe. Also, the fun thing, I just noticed this one thing. So Florida State was picked basically by everybody to win that game. They did not win the game.
They're picked to win the ACC.
Yeah. And then it was kind of brought me back to our Matt Berry conversation a few weeks ago. And one of the things that he kept saying is that there are no brands in the Big 12. Brands ain't win football games, guys. Like that, to me, that's what I kept thinking when I was watching. Because one of the big knocks on the non-brands, air quotes, heavy air quotes here. One of the things on the non-brands is they don't have the talent or the physicality to match with the, quote, brands. Georgia Tech's offense absolutely pushed around Florida State the whole game, which is not really surprising if you were to watch any Georgia Tech games, which the family that we went to South Carolina with, they live in Forsyth, Georgia. They went to Georgia. Their daughter married a Georgia Tech grad. So kind of follow a lot of the Georgia schools. So I'll watch Georgia Tech a bit. Haynes King, kid can ball. Like quarterback, kid can ball.
Yeah.
But they have a good offense. And everybody just flat out picking Florida State came from branding, not what actually happens on the field.
Can we stop with the DJ Uyunglele hype as well? I mean,
a lot of ceiling, not a lot of reaching that ceiling.
I mean, I think he is. I'm not trying to dog on the guy, but I think he's heralded because a couple of recruiting sites had him as a 5-star quarterback, and he hasn't really. I mean, he's done okay.
Oregon State was good. He played well in Oregon State. And at Florida State, then, I mean, maybe he's going to get better because this is what his fourth offensive coordinator in 5 years. Yeah. I mean, it's a little bit of Baker Mayfield in the NFL situation where you have so many offensive coordinators, you just kind of have to keep learning. But at the same time, if the talent is that much better, quote, air quotes, whether it's DJU or whether it's Florida State's entire roster or whatever, if the talent's that much better, shouldn't you beat the teams like that you're substantially, quote, favored for?
Well, I was kind of thinking too that you know, you're always gonna have the guys, the Alabama, the Georgias, that have the best recruits. But with the transfer portal and NIL, I feel like this is maybe a positive of it, is that some of those guys that are 4 or 5 star guys, they don't want to sit and wait. They sit for 1 year, then the depth chart gets released for the next year, and they're like, I don't want to wait. Transfer, and they go play. And so the playing field is leveling out a little bit for some of these, like you said, big brands. But there is always going to be the guys who are getting the top guys, but some of the better talent is kind of being dispersed amongst, you know, the rest of the teams.
Yeah, I think it is. I don't know. I feel like the talent pool is widening a lot more because of NIL and the instant transfer rules. Just, yeah, Alabama can't sign and stash 6 5-star running backs. You can. I mean, maybe 1 or 2 of those guys is going to sit there for a long time, but then they go, yeah, you know what? I would rather I only have 5 years of eligibility. I already sat for 1. They brought in 3 more 5-star running backs. I would rather go play at Texas Tech, wherever, some other place that they could then actually get some playing time with. And if you can mesh that talent together, that's a way. But I don't know. Either way, the game on Saturday it reminded me of the brand conversation, is that brand doesn't win games. Football wins football games.
For the brand wins games, though.
Hey, I feel that was a kicker's paradise, man.
I mean, so the Florida State kicker, what a way to start I think it's a senior year, a 52-yarder, then a 59-yarder before the half. Dude's got Mondo waves.
In a football stadium.
Yeah.
In a football.
A
football stadium.
Which I would have rather played it in a football stadium than Yankee Stadium. Yankee Stadium is cool.
Oh, baseball field's terrible to play on.
Planting on, I think I've said this before on the podcast, planting on the infield where it was sand, you would plant, like for a kickoff, you'd plant and you'd slide like 3 or 4 inches before you kick. Brutal. It's like playing on plus it rained and snowed quite a bit, like leading up to our game, but it was a very soupy-ish surface. Not ideal.
One thing that I really like, just as an architecture conversation, one thing that European football stadiums have way better than American football stadiums have, most of them have a sunshade built in. Like when you look at it, I mean, for lack of a better description, it sort of looks like a toilet bowl lid, where there is just a portion that comes out from the top of the stadium, which is meant to just shade the fans.
I think the Dolphins might have that, or Hard Rock, where the Orange Bowl is.
Yeah.
Which every time I watch a game there, as if I watch it all the time, every time I watch a game there, though, it feels like, oh, this looks like like it's a European football stadium.
Yeah, it's a better architectural setup.
Yeah. Also though, with the kickers, obviously Georgia Tech won on a last-second field goal. So like that game for both kickers was like a dream. Obviously, one had to lose, but a dream for both of them.
Well, luckily for you, and we're going to find more information about this. We'll release more information about this year. We've actually been able to partner with one of the travel companies to be able to get you to Ireland. Now, this is not necessarily we wanted to talk about Florida State, Georgia Tech because it was good football. It just so happened that it was a really cool vibe in Dublin. If you want more information on actually being able to get there, cyclones2ireland.com for official travel and official events. That is cyclones2ireland.com. We're going to get more information on that throughout the entire season. But what a way to kick off the season. And Iowa State gets to be that next year against Kansas State, who I presumably, depending on what the roster looks like from this year to next year, will be one of the most defining games of the Big 12 right away in Ireland. I mean, it's going to be hard to beat.
Yeah, it'll be great to give the Wildcats a loss to start their season.
Did you say the Wildcats?
Yeah,
it's just like it's a Wildcat.
They're not wild. They're not. They're very mild.
It's like a Wildcat at 2 p.m. on a Thursday.
What is that mascot? A man with a cat head? Get out of here.
It doesn't feel
nightmare fuel.
It feels like they could probably do better. Like they try a little harder. Do you think how much sunscreen?
Kansas State though. You think they want to?
How much sunscreen do you think he has to put on? I mean, granted, like Psy is probably hot on days, but it feels like the constant need to sunscreen yourself also would be hard to switch between people because you're like, yeah, that guy's arms are bigger. They're a little tanner than this other person. You can't like just one guy and a mascot the entire time.
Yeah. Enough about Kansas State.
Anyway, Cyclones, the number 2, Ireland.com. So Iowa State actually does open up against North Dakota. Which,
wait, one last thing for
okay.
One last thing for week 0. Shout out to our guy Eli Sanders, leading the country in rushing yards right now.
Hey, good for him.
Plays for New Mexico now. Unfortunately, they lost to the Montana State Bobcats.
Bobcat.
And he has 80.
Bad.
He had 87 yards rushing in the game. So 17 carries for 87 yards. Not a bad first game for him.
Well, he bounced because there is talent on this Iowa State roster.
A lot.
And so the depth chart got released today.
Let's dive into it.
We're recording this on Monday. So Iowa State opens this Saturday against North Dakota.
Do you know what their mascot is?
Fighting Hawks. It used to be the Fighting Sioux. But then they
good.
realized
Yes.
that it was one of those things where, just like the Redskins, they said, maybe we should actually ask the Sioux Nation if we can use their name. And I think the Sioux Nation said, please don't. And they switched it. So it's the Fighting Hawks. So if you're thinking, which one's the Fighting Sioux? It's that one. It's just they changed their name. So North Dakota, like quick little overview on North Dakota. They were 7-5 last year. They were 5-3 in conference. They made the playoff as like a wild card seed and lost to Sacramento State. They are a more downhill running team than they throw it around team. They try to be a defensive first team. In the teams that are of sort of comparable level, like ish comparable level to Iowa State, which I'm not saying that each one, if Iowa State were to play any of these teams, then that the other team would win. But North Dakota played Boise State, lost 42-18, and then played South Dakota State, which is the two-time defending national champ for FCS. They lost to them 42-21. And then not for nothing, they got shut out by Northern Iowa 27-0. They also had some good wins against North Dakota State. But for the most part, they're a good but not great FCS level team.
Can I put a skirt on that?
Okay.
Bloom and Williams talk about this. I believe Bloom said that they have 38 new guys on their roster, or they lost 38 guys. And they had a quarterback battle. And the guy who won the battle, I don't know if he was a quarterback last year or not, but the guy who won the battle just entered the transfer portal like 2 days ago.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so now their quarterback is me. He's like a 5'10", 180 pound. Why are we almost like Will McElvain, if you remember him from You and I?
I mean, don't necessarily say he's Will McElvain because that.
But I think that's his style. I think his style is more running around.
Slinging it.
I mean, can you imagine Big Stitch? I can't imagine Big Citrus falling on me, break a rib.
Or any one of the other defensive linemen that are there. I think so. We want to go through for the rest of the show. Things we want to go through is actually go through the depth chart a little bit because there's some interesting things to look out for or to note on there going into Saturday. But then also, I wanted to go through because now we can actually talk like X's and O's, like things that are not just, hey, look at how cool this stuff is. Is like, what from a technical standpoint do we want to see on Saturday to say yes or no, this was good or bad? I mean, aside from a win. Yes, a win, people stay healthy. That obviously that's goals number 1 and 1A. But then what else? So first thing, we're going to go to the depth chart. Is there anything what of note, and we're pulling this up on the screen for those that are watching on YouTube, is there anything of note that you saw? Because there are a few things that stuck out to me.
Yeah, there are a few things, not really, I guess kind of in this starting lineup. Dylan Barrett, who's a transfer from Wisconsin, he's right now starting at left guard.
They're with an or. There's an or with Dylan Hasert.
Yeah, which I liked seeing that Dylan Hasert and Trevor Burr, who's right guard number 2, they're both in the two deep because they were highly recruited. Heard really good things about them last year, but I think they were both hurt. That's big. Another thing for me, I mentioned him a couple shows ago, Dom Overby, true freshman at receiver behind Jaden Higgins. He has showed flashes. So I'm happy to see that he's on there too.
And also Kai Black. So the wide receiver position. So let's just some of that is what stuck out to me. And then that offensive line, that was really, and the linebackers are really the things that I noticed. So wide receivers, the M position, which is really, it's their slot. It's the guy who kind of flexes around here or there. It's Jalen Null, obviously, is going to be your starter. Then at X is Jaden Higgins. And at the Z, the starter is a slash, and it's Benny Nagoye and Isaiah Alston.
Which I think is where Daniel Jackson was.
Correct. And he would have been listed, that's the Z receiver.
Which,
so that
sucks because he's sure-handed. When I think of him, I think of a guy like a Jake Williams or I'm blanking on his name, Quentin Bundridge, who just had sure hands, and it sucks because Dan Jackson's an older guy, great hands. But silver lining, I think Benny Nagoye's got a bright future.
Yeah, and so those are your starters. So it's Ben Nagoye is the only one that has an or. So it's Benny Nagoye and then Isaiah Alston. Those are the two kind of slashes at the wide receiver position. But the thing that stuck out to me is how young the wide receiver group still is.
Yeah.
So Jalen Knoll, senior, Eli Green, transfer from North Dakota State, junior, and then Jaden Higgins, senior. Everybody else, really, really young. Dom Overby, freshman. Kai Black, redshirt freshman. Ben Ngoyi, redshirt freshman. And Isaiah Alston, transfer. He's actually redshirt junior. But the guys that are going to rotate in at that position are super, super young. And Kai Black, to me, I called a couple games for MC22 for him in high school. There was one, he pulled a hamstring and still had like 130 yards receiving. Huh. Just because he is a super smart player and is just physically, when you stand next to me, like, it sort of reminds me of, not because he's from Urbandale, but sort of like Lazard. Like, you know, in your head.
That was the comp I was going to make.
That Alan Lazard's a big guy. But then you stand next to Alan Lazard, you're like, Jesus, you're a huge human. You play what? That's kind of what Kai Black, he's 6'3", but he's a thick 225. So like the wide receiver group to me is the one that I'm the most interested in, because there's some oars on there, but just seeing all the bodies and the talent that you know is there, that's a group that I'm really excited to watch.
One thing that stood with me too was looking at the F position, basically our fullback, Steve-O, obviously, but then Tyler Moore behind him.
Tyler Moore is the next best blocker of the bunch, like by a long ways. It's Steve-O is the best blocker. Tyler Moore is the next best blocker, which is why they have him listed as the F. I would imagine, so Burkle, the tight end, the true tight end position is Ben Bramer and then Gabe Burkle, Steve-O, Klotz, and then Tyler Moore. If you have a 3 tight end formation, I'm guessing it's going to be Bramer, Klotz, and Moore.
Which is interesting, because I wonder if Cooper Alexander, the true freshman from Oklahoma, if that means he'll be getting redshirted this year, which is fine if he is. But I've heard he's been doing really well in camp as well. So I to that point, I wonder if they were to do a 3 tight end look, if they were to do Bramer, Burkle, and Alexander, or if they'd go Bramer, Burkle, and then Klotz.
I imagine you can't take Steve-O off the field. He's a really good pass catcher, but he is a terrific blocker, and he's 6'4", 260. So he's like the Sam Seenbuckners, the Jared Russes in the past. They're like a 6'2", maybe 6'3"-ish, like 235, 240. Maybe I might be underestimating the size of those guys, but 6'4", 260. He's another guy, when you stand next to him, you're like, thick human. I mean, he's built like a tight end. So I think Steve-O he plays the F as a fullback, but he is physically capable of putting his hand down and actually playing a true tight end position. So I would imagine that Steve-O is going to be more involved in the offense than basically anybody other than Bramer. So Bramer and Klotz are going to be the 2 guys. And I imagine then Moore would be your 3rd guy, I think, just based on skill set, especially with how talented the wide receivers are. You can't tell me that if you need a pass caught for 7 yards, you're going to take Higgins, Knoll, you're going to take one of them off the field, because in order to get 3 tight ends on, you have to take one wide receiver off, or you have to get down to 1 receiver. So you would rather have, in passing situations, Steve-O, Klotz, and Tyler Moore over a Jaden Higgins or a Jalen Knoll. And I think that most of the time when you're going to be in 3 tight end sets, you're going to be mostly in a run forward formation that you're going to throw out of here or there. But that, to me, the 3 tight end look is going to be when you might see it on Saturday, because you might have a physical advantage over them. And it might be in the Aiden, get the ducks ready. It might be in a fuck you moment. And I think that's kind of where they want to actually have
like a goal line.
Yeah, goal line, or even just
short for the 3rd and.
We just had a 14 play drive, and they just ran a diverse offense. And then defense forced a 3 and out. It's 83, 85 degrees, not a lot of wind going in the stadium. Your defense is hot, 3 tight ends, get out there. That kind of moment when you want to proverbially put your foot on their neck, kind of saying like, you don't belong on the field with us. There are times when you want to actually have that moment, because Moore and Klotz are really, really good blockers. Bramer is a good blocker, but a terrific pass catcher. I think that's really the only time when you want to have that enforcement. You'll still throw out of it. And I imagine Higgins, because he's 6'4", 215, is going to be the other guy on the field. But I imagine the 3 tight end look is going to be, like I said, more of an enforcement, physical, we're going to dominate. But I'm guessing they're not going to have 3 tight ends on the field a ton, because that means Higgins and Knoll, one of them has to come off the field. And I don't think you want that in most situations.
Yeah. I also looking at this too, I was surprised how much weight Bramer's gained. He's up to 250 now. I think he came in at like 220.
Yeah, and he's still got more to go.
Yeah.
He's a string bean still.
I'm not sure he needs much more. I mean, 6'7", 250 is a good size.
But I mean, I imagine still,
because you want to still cater to his skill set. Is he's more a like a, I'm not comparing him to Kyle Pitts, but like a Kyle Pitts type tight end, where he is just a freak athlete and can block, but you're basically a big
Yeah.
thick receiver.
Be more athletic than everybody in the box.
Yeah.
The other positions that kind of jumped out to me, like I said, offensive line and linebacker were the ones that kind of came to mind.
Yep.
Offensive line, the right side, it's kind of neat to see the right side set the way it is because that's the only ones that are set. Right guard, right tackle are the only two positions that are locked in. Center, left guard, left tackle, those all are slashes that Campbell loves to have the oars on. But Brendan Black, true freshman last year, now true sophomore, starting guard, clear, you're the guy.
And he didn't come in early. The dude came in as a true freshman, had
in June,
2 months under his belt.
Yeah.
Get out there, kid.
Have fun.
Nuts. As a true freshman in the Big 12.
And then Tyler Miller is, I think, a sixth-year senior because he had the COVID year and he had a red shirt. So Tyler Miller, 6'9", 330. Massive human being.
Do you think he would move if I ran full speed and like?
No, absolutely not. You know the person who's actually the biggest fire plug on that entire Jared Hufford. Dude, have you guys met Jared Hufford in person? Have you been around him in person? So he's I'm trying to find like like Taylor Mansfield, but not as ripped.
Tufty.
Not as much. Tufty has bigger gut. I'm talking like, so his shoulders and lats are wider than his waist, but he's 6'5", 320.
KO.
So KO, but not quite as long. But like that kind of body where you're like, okay,
this dude could probably bench a car.
This could bench a car. Yeah, it's just, he's a fire hydrant of a human. But yeah, Brendan Black and Tyler Miller being true, clear starters. That was one thing that was kind of neat. The other thing that I noticed, good on James Neal. So Jalen Travis as an or. So it's James Neal or Jalen Travis as your left tackle.
Travis is dealing with an injury.
Okay. Still, listing James Neal as an or starter is a big step for him to be able to actually come up with that.
Yeah.
And then the center position between Hufford and Boniface, I think Boniface plays your more Tom Farniak style center, which is super, super smart, knows exactly where everybody needs to go. And then Hufford, like I said, is a fire hydrant that can just move people out of the way. You have to know what's going on because he's been there for forever, but he is going to be more of your kind of road grader. If we can get push with Boniface, then you can leave Boniface in there because he's going to coordinate everybody really, really well. But if you need some more actual go, then you might rotate Hufford in. And I'll be interested to see how the center position kind of shakes out.
Well, I'm curious too, because Jalen Travis is dealing with something. He's dealing with an ankle. I hope it's just they're sitting him out for this game because we hopefully don't need him. So I wonder when he is healthy, which is hopefully sooner than later, and he comes back, he's going to be a starting left tackle. No offense to James Neal. Jalen Travis is a future NFL guy. What does that mean for James Neal? You're not going to not play him. So where does he come in at? Does he then slide in at left guard?
I mean, it'll just be interesting to see what the offensive line does. And at left guard is Dylan Barrett, who was transferred
from Wisconsin. Yep, he was a backup center for them. So I think that's something that Clanton likes to have these guys do is play. I would imagine that Barrett's probably the third center behind Jim.
And Hufford and Boniface, yeah.
Yeah, because he played center at Wisconsin, and obviously Hufford had played guard previously.
Yeah.
So I think that's something Clanton likes to do is have these guys be interchangeable at different positions.
I think the kind of the last sort of position, at least position that stuck out to me, like I said, was linebacker. So Caleb Bacon, clear starter at Mike, which deserved. I mean, he was an absolute machine. He's also a large human, 6'3", 245. I would imagine he's probably bigger than that in actual real life. So he's going to be your in the box Orion Vance style linebacker, where he's going to be able to take on most. If he has to get down dirty and actually be a pass rusher, he's going to do that. Will McLaughlin being the starting Sam, which is the Mike Rose position, playing more out in space in the true kind of 3-3-5. That is sort of clear. But then Cooper Ebel,
I love this,
being a straight out non-slash starter over Sadowski, who was a true freshman starter last year. I don't think Sadowski was bad, but having someone just straight up jump you and be a clear starter tells me that Cooper Ebel is a baller.
I have been big on Ebel since he came to Iowa State. Some guys just have that it factor, and for me, he's had that. One thing I noticed though about these three linebackers, Jeff, 3 guys from Iowa, 3 guys from small school Iowa. That's awesome.
And isn't Sadowski from like, is it Illinois kid?
I think so.
Yeah, so like you have all Midwestern kids, like because Caleb Bacon came from
Troy Mills, I believe.
And then McLaughlin came from Harlan.
Troy Mills, that's right, isn't it?
And then
that's where my grandma's from. I didn't put 2 and 2 together. Like, I've got family there.
Nate.
Wow.
The more you know.
Yeah.
Good
Hey,
for
Marge.
him. Hey, Marge.
One thing too that I love, we didn't talk about the D line. I think our D line's gonna be nasty. If you play 4 D linemen, for as much as we've heard Kennard Snyder has been tearing it up, add him into this. We can add him in or take him out. But then you got Big Citrus, J.R. Singleton, and Tyler Onyedem. Onyedem. 3, I think, future NFL guys. I think 2 for sure. I think Orange and Onyedem are. Singleton has a good chance to be. You add those 3 plus Snyder, the 4 down lineman's gonna be nasty.
The thing that's interesting about the 4 down, or it's another defensive line thing. I think so. My initial thought was that you really only want to play the 4 down, or you're going to major in the 4 down when Singleton and Orange are both fresh and healthy. That when you get fresh oranges.
Look at him go.
With that, I think so that Ike Ezeagu moving to be a defensive tackle, because last year he played the position that Jaquan Bailey played, which is the end position in their setup, which is now what Onyedem is playing. So you have Onyedem and Joey Peterson as your ends in this setup, which is more of the physical
kind of
anchor in the box. The Leo position tends to be a little bit more of the Will McDonald, the pass rusher.
Matt Leo.
Yeah, that's Matt Leo. Yes, isn't he coaching in the NFL now? Like is it Titans or Cowboys?
I don't know if he's coaching. He was playing for the Eagles.
He was in Philly last time I knew.
Oh yeah, he's a coach for the Eagles. That's right. But anyway,
good for him.
So Ike Ezeagu
that's
another big human. He's like 6'7", like
handsome
265.
A handsome fella too.
Yeah, he's an Aussie. He's a good looking Aussie.
Handsome fella with an accent. Hide the women.
Goodness. But anyway, so Ike Ezeagu moving into D tackle, that tells me that is more that D tackle position. They want to function like a 3 technique, which I think we've probably talked a little bit about this, but there's 2 types of defensive tackles when you have a 4 down setup. There is the nose guard, which is going to play somewhere off of the center. So like the center is the guy who snaps the ball, and either side of him, he's in somewhere in contact with him, is where your nose guard is. Your nose guard is a Ray Lima body, where that's Dom Orange. It is a massive human. Tony Saragusa, it is just, you're eating up blocks. You're trying to create a pile that none of the combinations that they're trying to get, they want to get a guard up to a linebacker. They want to get a puller to come around and go behind their offensive line and come out. You want to create a pile where none of that can happen. That's what the nose guard's main job is.
Like a Tebow Rubin kind of too?
Yeah, exactly. Tebow Rubin. If you end up with 2 tackles and half a sack, great day for a D tackle. For a nose guard. Your D tackle, which is sometimes called the 3 technique, tends to play outside the guard, somewhere around between the guard and the tackle, a little bit tighter. That's more your Warren Sapp style.
Does it matter which guard, strong side or weak side?
Depends on the lineup, how they set their linebackers and wherever. It's just there's one guy that's kind of on one side of the center. So if you're the center, the nose guard would be on your left shoulder, and then to your right side, on the other side of the guard to your right is the 3 technique. So anyway, that guy is more of a disruptor. That is where Eni Wazirike is playing in the league, which Eni back in the Broncos. Good for him. So that's more his position, where you're trying to cause disruption. You want to do defensive tackle stuff, but you also want to get penetration. You can actually get sacks from that position. It's what Quentin, forget what his name is, the guy that plays for the Jets.
Will McDonald.
Will McDonald. No, total brain fart. Anyway, he's the guy with braces.
Brees doesn't have braces anymore.
Quinnen Williams.
Quinnen Williams. There it is. That was my reference for everybody. So Quinnen Williams.
Bless you.
Thank you. But that's you're kind of getting disruption from that position. So in this look, how this is set up, Dom Orange and Zamir Hawk are the nose guards, which is the Ray Lima eat blocks up. Then your defensive tackles, the 3 techniques, the ones that are going to be the most kind of involved in pass rush and creating chaos, are J.R. Singleton, and that's where they slid Ike Ezeagu into, which makes me think that this 4 down thing is not just a little flash in the pan. I imagine you're going to see at least 40% of the defense run out of that 4 down because of how much talent they have at those 2 positions, specifically Orange, Iziagu, and Singleton. Zamir Hawk, I don't know enough about him. I imagine he's pretty good, but I haven't seen enough of him to say, yes, go for it.
I'm not sure he's really played much either. But I like that they've moved Ike inside because it gives the Lions some versatility.
Yeah, and you want to play really well with your hands. Like I said, it's the Eni Wazirike setup.
All right. So anything else on the D-line linebackers? Move on to
the only
D-backs.
One thing, it's just going back to the offensive side. Abu Sama, clear starter at running back. There's in the years past, they would, I think it was like Jirel Brock or.
I think we'll still see quite a bit of all three though.
You for sure will, but I think Sama is the guy.
He's put on some weight too. Dude looks beefy.
Thick.
He out there looking like Jeff Woody.
There's something.
All right, so looking at, he's fast.
There it is.
Looking at the D backs, obviously you got Freeler, Verdon, or as Jeff says, Verdon, and Jeremiah Cooper.
That's a Verdun.
Whatever, yeah, Verdun.
Verdun.
Yeah. I'll have to go to the John Walters pronunciation on the roster. That's it. And then you got Jontez. This is surprising to me. Jontez Williams is starting.
Clear
cut.
No wars.
But then on the other side, you got Darian Porter and Miles Purchase. I thought going into this year, Purchase would be a starter on one side and Porter would be a starter on the other side. But now you got Darian Porter listed over Miles Purchase.
Yeah, that is. I feel like that's going to be kind of a matchup thing, like based on that. So Tez Williams, dude was balling by the end of the year. Yeah. He's going to be the kind of the replacement for TJ Tampa when you need a man set up against their best. Tez Williams is going to be that guy. He's going to be the one that has to step up and handle the challenge.
Is he the next TJ Tampa?
I mean, hopefully, because
a lot of praise. Anthony
Johnson and TJ Tampa, and then Tez Williams. He's a redshirt sophomore, clear-cut starting corner. A lot of good pedigree in the John Haycock defenses.
But we also said that about Miles Purchase.
He was always playing with TJ.
It's true.
But Darren Porter, 6'4", 200. Miles Purchase,
and he's fast.
5'11", 205.
That's true.
So I think that might be dependent. Also, if like let's say
6'4" corner, that's so tall.
And dude can run. He might be the fastest guy on the roster. But if one of those guys is balling in a specific game, you just leave him in there. Like let him go. But if there's a matchup where their number 2 wide receiver is a Jalen Knoll setup, or excuse me, a Jaden Higgins 6'4", 215. It would be easier for Porter to contest balls down the field if you know that that's something you want because he's 6'4", versus Miles Purchase tends to be able to get into somebody's body a little bit better, play a little bit more press, get in, like be a little bit more aggressive at the line of scrimmage if he's playing against a shorter, quicker, whatever wide receiver. So I think that you have some flexibility there. But really, to me, the biggest thing looking at this whole thing, there is so much depth on this roster. It's easily the deepest roster.
Whoa, we're not done with the roster yet, Jeff. we got the most important. We got the athletes still to talk about here. At punter, no surprise, you got Tyler Perkins and backup Jace Gilbert. I think we'll see a little bit of Gilbert this year too, in certain situations, which I think will maybe benefit Tyler. I'm not going to ruin anything, but we'll see if that happens. I hope we don't see more than 2 punts in the first game.
You might, because they're going to try some stuff. There's going to be some. We'll get to that.
Yeah. So you got Perkins and Gilbert. I think Jace, he's like that, the Undertaker, from the grave.
Just sits himself up.
He's back. I think we'll see little Gilbert. Long snapper, we got Knobloch and Drew Doyle. Don't know anything about Drew Doyle. He's a true freshman, looks like.
Knobloch, not great last year.
Chuck Knobloch, yeah.
Great batting stance.
Great batting stance.
You
know what? Knobloch, he didn't have a bad year, but he had. You should never know who the long snapper was, and we knew who it was too often.
Yeah.
But I expect him to. He's a redshirt freshman, last year, so expect him to do better. And then place kicker, we got Kyle Conrarity. Heard good things about him.
He's a redshirt fresh. He's going to go to Dublin, yeah.
Yeah. So he will be. So he has only been playing football for like 3 years. Soccer guy.
Football guy.
Football. Great form.
Huge leg.
I've seen videos on him. Great form. He reminds me a lot of Contreras for last year. I can see why he was pushing Contreras last year. I hope that he does not shit himself in his first game. Being a guy who's never gone out there and played in front of 60, 70,000 fans. My first PAT as a true freshman, I blacked out. I couldn't feel my legs. Felt like they weighed 100 pounds, which I myself weighed 100 pounds. So my legs did not weigh 100 pounds. And I don't remember, I made it, but I don't remember what happened.
I think that's kind of the nice thing about having this talented of a roster against a team like North Dakota. Now, North Dakota is not a slouch team. Yes, they're turning over a whole roster. Yes, they have a new quarterback. They got pedigree to win. They know how to win. They are perennially towards the top of their division. They're perennially a playoff team. They're good. I don't think that Iowa State should struggle with this game, though, which means if he does miss a kick or two, that you can kind of laugh at it on the sideline.
Don't put that bad juju out there.
I'm just saying, hypothetically.
Don't put that bad juju out there.
Theoretically, if it happens,
He's not gonna miss a kick.
then you can laugh at it. As opposed to being
Why
like,
would you laugh at the kid missing a
insane.
kick, Jeff? What the hell's wrong with you?
if you are not laughing at, laughing with. If you can tell he's
There's
nervous.
nothing funny about missing a kick.
If you're just super nervous and you go out there and your kick doesn't look anything like yourself, you'd say, hey, we're laughing with you. We're not
That
laughing at
actually
you.
happened to me freshman year at Iowa. My steps were off on a kickoff. I got back to the sideline. And guy was like, dude, what the hell is that? I don't know. I blacked out.
See? You laugh at it.
We did.
Better than being like, you piece of shit.
Yeah. Brantner told me that.
You probably did.
Oh, and then lastly, punt and kick
Good
returner. We
transition.
got Jalen Knoll and Jalen Jackson for both. I love that. I think we will see a touchdown on one of the two. I would say kickoff. We're going to see a touchdown return for
This weekend?
a kickoff return for a touchdown at some point this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would like to see Jackson back there
For which one?
for kick return.
He's both. So they're both back there.
Well, there's going to be the way they run it. They have a primary returner and an off returner. So Jalen Knoll is super good.
Yeah.
But he is also
Got
super
screwed.
good on offense.
Got screwed last year.
Got screwed. Yep, definitely did. But is also super good on offense. I think Jalen Jackson's also going to be a baller. I mean, he's listed as an or at running back, not slot receiver, anything. So he is listed as an or at running back.
They've got plays for him.
They've got plays. And Carson Hansen, same thing. Big human. They both do things totally different. 6'2", 220 for Hansen, 5'7", $180 for Jalen Jackson. Totally different players. But Jackson, to me, that punt return, kick returner, there's a lot of risk that you put your person at. So there's a lot of reward for Jalen Knoll because he's super good at it. But you also want to keep him on the field. And so to me, if Jalen Jackson can be a spark to be consistently getting big returns, whether it's PATs or not PATs, whether it's kickoffs or punts, I would rather him be back there because it gives another way to get him the ball and it keeps Jalen safe. But he is listed, kick returner is Jalen Knoll, no slash, no or. The punt returner is Jalen Knoll and Jalen Jackson.
You want Jalen Jackson to be the sacrificial lamb.
Not necessarily sacrificial lamb, but just it's a way. It's a
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying because
Yeah.
if he does get hurt, then we still have he's the third running back. We have other, but if Jalen Knoll gets hurt,
is subject to more unnecessary.
Yeah.
Not, I want to say unnecessary, more hits than he would already be taking. And if you can have mostly the same result because he's doing really well, then that's a way to get him the ball. So to me, that's a win for everybody.
yeah, I like it. What are you hoping to see in the first game?
So first off, solid tailgating. It's gonna be, I think, 83 and sunny.
Lovely.
Just if you need your tailgating things, Kelderman.com, whatever. I think there's probably still time if you did it right now. If you're listening to this later in the week, right now might be a little bit too late, but you can get it for the next home game. So anyway, Kelderman.com, if you want any specific thing for your tailgate setup, whether it's custom, you want your truck lifted, you want to have your trailer or RV, you want something amended or adjusted, Kelderman.com.
Take your grill out before you take that fireball shot.
Of your mouth.
Uh-huh.
The mouth grill,
Yeah.
not the grill on your truck or the grill you're cooking with it.
Can I interject one thing real quick here?
Oh, yeah.
So the captains just got announced.
Can I guess?
Sure.
I'm not going to look at the screen.
Yeah.
Jalen Knoll,
He's one.
Bo Freeler.
Yep.
Hufford.
Nope.
Rocco.
Defensive guy.
Rocco.
There's only three. Nope.
Oh, there's only three.
Oh, Rocco's offensive guy.
Oh, there's three defensive. Just okay.
Just three total.
Just
The next
three
one's
total
defensive
captains.
guy.
So
Yeah.
Bo, Jalen. Ooh. Are we going with Darian Porter?
Nope.
Who is it?
J.R. Singleton.
J.R. Single. Good for him.
Yeah.
And they will do a fourth captain, but it'll vary by week.
Interesting.
So, could be Jared Hufford. We won't
Or Rocco.
know.
Or
Could
any
be.
one of the other guesses that I had.
Or Boo.
Or Sama. Yeah. Go
I,
Rams.
I wonder what the what the qualifications are for that. Like you did because you did good last week.
Or if you kind of had a leader during the week, I imagine it's more like emotional, where it's like, hey, you worked really hard. You did the right things. You graded out really well. You improved significantly. Conradi might get there if he's.
No, he won't. I never got him my 4 years. Why would he?
They like kickers more.
I was a
No,
kicker.
they didn't. but Rhodes himself coached the kicker, so I'd say he didn't like the kickers more. Rhodes really liked kickers.
Yeah. Come on, Paul.
There's a few things, at least for me. I don't know if you had anything that you want to see.
Yeah, I want to see some things.
Just anything. I want to see things. Things that for me that I want to see. It is the first week, and you saw like in that loud environment. I don't think it's going to be as heated as it was in Ireland for those week 0 games. But you saw the guys kind of putting their hands in their ears, the quarterbacks. That was to try and get the play calls in.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I want to see a clean operation, or I would be okay if there is one screw up. If there's one delay of game, or there's one missed signal where Rocco's kind of like gesturing to the sideline, I can't see it or whatever. I want to see that this week. I don't want to see that next week because it's going to be loud enough. Jack Trice is going to be hopping. It's not going to be like Kinnick next week where 2 fan bases hate each other. Where
they're right on top of you, Kinnick.
And yeah, they're sitting 3 inches away from you. So that to me is always the loudest game. That just whether it's at Jack Trice or in Coralville.
Kinnick, yeah.
Coralville. For those in LeClaire, you know. But you need to get those things figured out. What's the volume got to be in your helmet? How fast do you need to talk if you're talking to off linebacker or quarterback? How much communication on the headset from coach to coach? When does that need to happen? I want to see that get ironed out. But if you are going to make a mistake, if you're a little bit late in the play clock, or if you have to take a delay of the game, I want to see that this week. I don't want to see that next week. So that's the biggest thing I want to see is that not the biggest thing. One of the things that I want to see is that operations offensively and defensively are smooth, that you've got the communication figured out, down pat, easy. That to me is my number one.
You got anything else?
Yeah, a few. I was just going to go back and forth.
Sure, I'll go then. Unless Aiden wants to go. What I want to see is...
Man, you guys never ask me for anything.
Shut up, Aiden! Go back to your hole.
What I want to see is just dominant offensive line play. So I want to see them open up a lane wide enough that if I were the running back, I could get 6 yards. Or if a semi was on the field, a semi would get a lot of yards.
Yeah,
just
drag
it sure would.
people.
But I want to see them...
Turf.
It really would, yeah.
I don't know how you get it. How do you get it in position? I mean, there's some skilled semi drivers, but you have to like back the trailer up very specifically to get to be on sides, you know? And like, how does a handoff work?
You just shove it into one of those Kelderman grills, you know, tell Jeff Kelderman, hey, make a pocket.
Yeah, you just have to high and tight.
Yeah. But to be honest, like a semi, it would take me a few seconds to really get up and going. You know, you'd have the and then to get going.
The bounce. You got to shift in a second.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Whatever. I want to see the offensive line, though, create big lanes for the running backs to run. I want to see Abuka 100 yards. I mean, I'm not going to like put that on him if he doesn't, but I want to see him just have 100 yards by the third quarter, be done. I don't want to see Rocco get sacked. I want to see him stay healthy, stay off his back, and protect him. But also, I just want to see them just dominate. Iowa State has not had a solid offensive line for I don't know how long, and Clanton's thing is aggressive, be nasty. So I want to see them just metaphorically punch those Fighting Hawks in the face when they're off the bus.
And they should, just based on size, kind of size strength. I mean, North Dakota, they're still a good team. Again, let's not overlook the fact that they have dudes too. They're a good team. They're not at the level of Iowa State, so Iowa State should be able to do that. I agree. I would want to see Rocco stay totally clean, and that's also kind of on Rocco because there's a whole year.
I would say aside from scrambling, obviously, I want to see him stay clean in the pocket.
Yeah, but I mean, even if he's scrambling, still stay clean. Like we those extra 2 yards on first down, the difference between 2nd and 4 and 2nd and 6 is a little. It's not huge. Just slide, get out of bounds, resist contact. A move. Don't
do what JJ did the first game last year and try to like Superman hurdle dive someone.
Don't do that.
At 6'7",
don't do that.
6'11", jeepers. JJ.
Don't do that. But yeah, that's partly on Rocco to make sure that if there is pressure coming, that he sees where it's coming from. He knows where his protections are. He's able to communicate to the running backs, whoever's in there, where they're going to be, where he needs to change a route to, understanding that where you have to get the ball out from. Where's danger? Where do I need to address it? You can never block 100% of the defense because they've got 11. You've got 10 that can block because there's one with the ball. So they always have one extra guy. You can never block everybody. So you have to be able to control where that, got to know where that one person is. So I would like to see Rocco stay clean. A thing that I would also like to see is on schedule efficient offense. I would like to see big plays. Everybody likes to see big plays. I think the point of most offense is to get a big play.
If the first play of the game is not Rocco hucking it deep for 70 yards to Jaden Higgins, I don't want to watch it.
I don't think you're going to watch it. I think it's going to be a run play. I would guess. Hey, we're bigger than you. We have Abu. Go get him.
We'll see.
Anyway, just efficient on schedule offense. That comes with penalties not happening, holdings, false starts. I mentioned like a delay a game or something like that. Staying on schedule, not shooting yourself in the foot. That your first down play goes for 7 yards. Your second and 3. Then you do a play action, throw it, goes for 13. The next one, you got a 4-yard run, and you can just stay on schedule all the way down the field. That allows you to dictate the pace of your offense to a team you should be dictating the pace of your offense to. That to me is the biggest offensive thing that I want to see, is just efficient on schedule offense. There's going to be stuff. There's going to be formation problems. There's going to be false starts. There's going to be holdings. There just will be. It's the first game. It always happens. You have refs in scrimmages, but they're not going to call it as tightly as they will. And this is also the refs' first time in front of crowds, and they get a little bit amped up, or they get a little bit nervous, or they see something they shouldn't because it's going really fast. There's going to be that kind of stuff, but minimize the amount of those things. Penalties like 40 yards or less total penalties. Operate efficiently. That's the thing that I want to see on offense.
Yeah, I want to see a clean game too, in the sense of no turnovers. I would like to see the defense get at least 2 turnovers. I want to see them, aggressively trying to punch the ball out and try to go for picks. Because last year we started the season with a pick 6.
Yeah, that's true.
So I want to see a clean game as far as no turnovers and turnovers. But I'd also like to see Iowa State win by,
a lot.
If they don't win by 21, 24, I wouldn't be alarmed, but if it's a 10-point game, I'm gonna be like, okay, like we got some stuff to figure out.
Yeah, I think that to me that will come as a product of efficient offense, staying ahead of the sticks, because you're a better team. If you are the better team and you don't get in your own way, you should have offensive success. And then defensively, the thing that I would like to see is the exact inverse of that, is a really disrupted herky-jerky game. If this guy is in fact the Will McElvain style, he's going to have a play or two here or there. You might misfit something as a defense because you might be trying the 4 down for the first time. You're breaking a new starter. You got Cooper Ebel out there. He might get super amped, overrun a gap, and they have a run for 6 yards, whatever, 12 yards. That stuff's going to happen during the course of the game. But the thing that I would like to see is that you're consistently forcing the offense, the Fighting Hawks offense, out of their rhythm that they want to operate in, and forcing them to be in 3rd and 7, 8, 12, 14s, and then allowing Jack Trice to be able to be the energy that they want to explode. Because if offensively, it should just be fun watching them down it shouldn't be like, on offense. To me, it should feel like this kind of like, woo, yeah, like a nice simmer of excitement. On defense, it should be able to build to a fever pitch because it's 3rd and 13, and what's going to happen is we're going to get pressure and send pressure.
Defensively, almost as if like when they played SEMO, their quarterback was so rattled, and we were coming from everywhere. Do you remember that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he was
3 picks in the first half, right?
Yeah, and he was a good quarterback, but Iowa State had him just off. He had no idea what was coming. So that last thing I'll say too, I guess last few things here. I want to see clean operations on the kicking and punting.
Snap, hold, kick.
And snap, catch, punt, because we had some blocked. We have them blocked versus UNI last year.
Was it UNI?
We didn't open with UNI. I think
Iowa twice.
Yeah, I think we had 2 or 3 blocked
punts. Or no, was that 2 years ago?
In the first few games. So clean operation, clean snap, hold, kick, make all your kicks, unless it's like a 62-yarder. It's still not acceptable, but make all your kicks. And yeah, I would like to see solid returns. Also, last thing I'll say is I am usually not in the clubhouse of play a vanilla game, but with implementing a new defense-ish with a 4-down lineman and a new offensive coordinator-ish, I'm sure he's going to run the same stuff. Do enough to win, but don't open up the entire playbook.
Yeah, I think it's interesting with the like vanilla thing, because that's fairly true.
I would be okay if Mauser calls an offensive game similar, like a conservative one to how we have run
Exactly. Yeah.
in the last few years, knowing that I think he wants to open it up and air it out quite a bit. Hold that back for later on the season.
I agree. I think the thing that I would like to see is you're gonna need to you have to win the game. Like you have to call the game to win the game.
Yes.
But once you get to a point where, let's say, first 2 drives, you go right down, field goal, then right down, touchdown, and it's 10-0. You get the ball back again, and you start driving. Break your own tendencies, because here, what film study is, the entire essence of film study is you're looking for tendencies, whether that's an individual's tendency, or whether that's a coordinator's tendency, whether that's play calling, whether that's alignment, whether that's whatever. You're trying to find tendency inside of the film on somebody. And with a new coordinator, you're trying to find, like, every GA or every team has a GA or assistant coach breaking down. There's a third down package, and then there is a short yardage package, and then there's a red zone package. And what's included in there, sort of like in basketball, we're like, hey, this guy likes to shoot from the elbow, and he is a 44% shooter from the elbow. He is a 30% shooter from 3-point. Here's what we need to do defensively. It's all statistics in there, so you can operate and know, he's at the elbow, press him a little bit, so you can feel what that is. Coordinators on the opposing side do that, as in, if you're in a 3rd and short, which is usually defined as like 3 or 4 or less, depending on your team, and they're 3rd and short, they like to come out in 3 tight ends 26% of the time. They come out, and if they do it in 3 tight ends, they're going to run behind number 49 70% of those plays. So if you see 3 tight ends, find number 49, they're going behind there. What I would like to see is using the knowledge of what film study is, and knowing that Iowa has none on you as a coach. They just have to trust that you're going to run Campbell's offense in some form or fashion. Is once you get to the point where you've had 2 or 3 drives, or 2 or 3 successful drives, you're up by 14, 17, 21, is that start recognizing that you need to call super vanilla plays in those moments of tendency, which is 3rd and shorts, red zones, any long yardage play you have to have. Don't give them anything there, because outside of that, first down, you got 2 receivers one side, 2 receivers on the other side. That could be a zillion things. Film study only takes you so far. But short yardage, you usually have a handful of plays that you like to go to. Keep those in your pocket. That's the things that I would like to see from, if you're going to have it. So, like, the keep it vanilla, it doesn't mean run it right down the middle 57 times in a game. It means when you get to situations that you know they're going to be trying to key on in film study in the next week, don't run anything more than you have to keep that situation under wraps.
I thought last thing I'd say in regards to that is I would like to see the game in such control that we can bench the starters in late 3rd, early 4th quarter, and get some of the younger guys, some of the Eli Green,
the JJs,
the Dom Overbys, get them some reps, give them some playing time, get the offensive linemen, get the 2s and 3s in there so they can play a little bit. That's what I'd like to see.
I'm just excited for the whole thing, man.
Hell yeah, football's back.
I'm not necessarily going to make a prediction. I'm not going to say, like, this is going to be the score. I just want to, like I said, clean operations, clean operations from kicking, clean operations getting plays in. Want to stay on schedule on offense, and then you want to get the opposing team, whether that's turnovers or sacks or forcing false starts or whatever, get them off rhythm. And then if you do all those things, the game just feels comfortable.
Can I make week 1 prediction?
That's fine. That's
not
fine.
even Iowa State, kind of Iowa State related, but not. I think Florida Atlantic is going to upset Michigan State in week 1.
That's fun.
Yeah.
I'm down with
Tom
Herman. Yeah.
It was his first year last year at Florida Atlantic. He got some good transfers coming this year. Michigan State has kind of been and they do have a good quarterback coming in from Oregon State who didn't play, though, because DJ Uiagalelei.
Yeah.
He played last year. So the guy is hyped. But they had close games with a lot of people last year. So I think 2nd year in.
Isn't their coach old Oregon State coach?
Who?
Michigan State.
Yeah, that's why.
Mel Tucker?
So, because I remember it was before.
It's not Mel Tucker. He's gone.
No, he got fired. He got canned.
He got fired.
Mel is just a nasty dude. Can't have that around.
Sorry.
Anyway, Oregon State guy. I can't even think of his name off the top of my head.
Oh, yeah.
It was like right before their last home game last year. like literally they were about to kick off. A rumor got out that he took the Michigan State job, and it was like a very weird situation all around.
Yeah, I remember that.
I do remember that too. Yeah, it was because I forgot. Is it John? It's some like vanilla names like Jonathan Stewart or something like that.
Nope. He runs the talk show.
Oh, John Stewart. Got it. Different. My bad.
That's all I got. You got anything else, Jeff?
No, Aiden, what do you want to see?
It's Jonathan Smith, just FYI.
Sorry,
So
other different white guy name.
right.
That is weird.
I just hope everyone has fun.
Juice boxes and orange peel or orange slices for everybody.
Last thing I'll say, Jeff, I'm an anti-Starbucks guy, except for when pumpkin season rolls around. I'm very much support local, but when pumpkin season rolls around, man, I'm like a basic white girl in rush week.
Dude, it's 103 outside right now.
Yeah, it is 97 degrees to the real feel of 108. So
Not pumpkin.
pumpkin season.
Pumpkin season, bitches.
You know what? Give me caffeinated, baby. It's rush week.
Okay, that's all I got. I just enjoy the game, everybody. I mean, tailgate your hearts out. Make sure you drink enough water. Get yourself out of the stadium. Enjoy a win.
Shouldn't be too hot though. Should be.
I mean, beautiful.
80s.
Couldn't be better.
Yeah.
Low 80s for an August game. Sign
Hell
me
yeah.
up.
And we're extracting honey on Sunday.
Hey.
So we're gonna have a cyclone victory, extracting honey, jarring honey. Mahoney Bees on Instagram. That's all I've got. So thank you to all of our loyal listeners who are still listening. And as always, remember, adopt, don't shop.